prices at this.
You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to your day. Howard here with your pre-market prep. Data already hitting, as you know, at 8:30. We have U.S. payrolls here. Unexpectedly fell by 92,000 in February. Unemployment rates rise to 4.4. So U.S. economy lost jobs in February. That's from the BLS. Non-farm payrolls fell by 92,000 compared to an estimate of growth of 50,000 and below the downwardly revised January total of 126,000. I don't know what else to say except that we've been calling that or saying that here on these shows at Quasar for months that it's there. And Twitter's going off. I have people tagging me saying, is that real number? Yes, it is the real number, unfortunately. Got to be honest, I'm a little surprised. Market's sort of just shrugging it off. We're not really seeing movement here across the indices. And if anything, they've slightly moved to the upside. So go figure. But with that being said, we are down across all three indices to start the day. The NASDAQ is the biggest laggard, down about 76 basis points. The S&P down 57 basis points. And the Dow down 53 basis points. And I do expect to see the spin doctors in full cycle out of the White House for sure around these numbers, because that was not what was expected. We'll see what the market thinks about it here over the next couple of hours, but that's not positive. Coming into the day, we were already under risk on pressure. Most of the risk on assets were getting hit pretty hard overall. Defensive names and especially energy was the sector that before this was moving. We'll see if that's still the case. Volatility has spiked right back, although I guess I don't know what happened in the last. Let me just take this down to a shorter time period to see something here. Last 15 minutes, VIX first spiked up to 27.62, now retraced to about 25.88. But it's definitely still elevated any way you look at it. Premium on volatility is gone up. What has come to the downside with this news is rates. So looks good for Howard. No, don't bounce. Keep going. Rates are coming down. That would be good for risk on assets there. So again, if they think that this leads to the Fed to cut, which is what it sounds like, and we can check Fed Watch here in a second. But, if unemployment's rising, if the job market is weak, that is one of the two major things that make the Fed make decisions, right? For me, I'm happy because I am trying, as we've talked about, to get a refinance, or would like to. I have a free one from my home purchase. So let's see if we can get a little bit more of a slide there. Interestingly, the dollar falls on that news, also dropping back down towards 99. Still a little elevated, but not, blowing the markets away with elevation there. So nothing to really see on the dollar. Gold gets a little spike up, so will silver on that news. Obviously, hedges against inflation, hedges against that. So it could be a solid day now for gold and silver miners and gold and silver companies in general. So there's a sector now to keep an eye on that we weren't watching going into the day, and if anything had been a laggard, as we had seen that steady fall across metals. WTI didn't really tick up or down on that news. It doesn't care about that. It only cares about what's happening in the Middle East. And we see, of course, again, mixed signals coming out of it. Matters who you talk to. Out of the White House, nothing to see here, no problems. We got plenty of oil and gas. Everybody's SPRs are pretty filled up, will be good. And then, the trade minister from Oman saying if this lasts another 7 to 15 days, expect crude prices to rise to about $150. So matters who you trust there. I know BigBeat has been shorting the crude prices, so we'll see what he has to say at 9 o'clock. For me, we've been playing the upside in my penny room on the energy names. They've been all flying, the TPETs, TURB, TURB, couple of the other laggards today. So there are definitely energy names that are in play without a doubt. Bitcoin pulled back here. Not surprisingly, just by the setup, it made that great move up to 72, 73, even hit 74.01 before falling back down. Again, my rooms were in a short here. We did exit it this morning. Not that I don't think we see continued downside. It was more about where it was positioned. I was looking for, looked like it was going to try to make a morning bounce back towards that 71 level where we would enter again. So, but still under pressure there. Outflows on the ETFs have us a little bit, not worried, but, that's what happened. We had about $250 million leave the Bitcoin ETFs yesterday. We've seen, I had mentioned, we'd already seen distribution throughout the Asian cohort of whales over the last few weeks. Every time we got a pop up, especially towards that 74, they were still selling into that price move. That continued. And like I said, the Asian hours have not been kind to us, and the overnight hours through Europe of recent, and that did play out. Downside here, target is something in that, if we don't get any, the bottom line is I'm expecting us to retrace towards the 66K level. The weekend sometimes gives us a little bit of breathing room to come back, but I do think we're going to drift back down into this area here. Again, we'll see lots of nice little relief rallies within this bear market, but the structure hasn't changed yet. We're seeing some of the things that you do want to see fall into place with, even with that ETF outflow yesterday. It's been a really good 10-day period or so of ETF inflows. It looks like institutions are interested. So there are some things there that I do think are still good under the surface, but there is still we're still not out of the bear market. Just that's the easiest way to put it. Overnight overseas, we do see the Kospi pretty flat on the day. It took a little bit of a jump up and then sort of traded sideways, but towards the high of the session, and that's basically just flat. But again, that gives tech maybe a little bit of room to run. We know the Kospi very much made up of Hyundai and Samsung's chip companies. So we'll see what's going on there. I will mention also, I did follow up on BigBeat's theory about Kospi and South Korean traders maybe moving back into crypto. they moved back out overnight. One of the biggest outflows was on Upbit, which is South Korea's largest exchange, where we saw a lot of spot outflows, people putting their Bitcoin onto the exchange or their tokens onto the exchange to sell. Ripple, the one the most affected by that. The retail traders in South Korea, big fans of XRP. So that had that move into the downside. Nikkei up about 1/4 percentage point, so a little bit of strength there, but again, moving to the lows of the trading session, not the highs. So leading into our session, not so great. China's up about 1.72 through the Hang Seng. And when we start to look at the gainers and the laggards in the market today, we're going to see that some of the Chinese names are showing strength. And Europe's down about 1.1% as of now. So markets aren't leading us in the right direction. The early market movement is to the downside. And now as people are realizing that, wait a second, we actually lost jobs, not gained jobs. The NASDAQ hit a new low here, bounced back from that low, but this is definitely what we'll take a look at here. Bitcoin is sort of liking it so far. And then let's take a look at the different sectors of the S&P. We've got energy up 1.45%, and running into the day, the gas and oil companies were the play. There still seem to be the play, especially if we can see ratchet up, and it wouldn't surprise me with these bad data numbers if we ratchet up the intensity over there to sort of keep people's eyes off of what's going on in the market. All the other sectors right now are down. Technology is down 1.66%. Consumer discretionary is down 1.2%. Industrial is down more than 1%. The Dow was the biggest laggard yesterday, and industrials were definitely under pressure. CAT, I believe, was one of the biggest dogs for a multiple day downswing there. Financials also down more than 1% at 1.25. So again, markets so far have woken up, definitely cautious at best. VIX back now jumped up towards 27. So keep that in mind. And then from an industry side point, semis still seem to be a fade here. NVIDIA can't catch it up. It made a big bid, but look at that pullback already. Software, same thing, that could get smashed here today. I like the energy names. Personally, we'll see how that plays out here today also. But let's take a look at what is so far leading the markets. Marvell is the one of the semiconductors chips manufacturers that is bucking the trend a little bit. They had strong earnings. I'll pull up my numbers here. There we go. They posted adjusted earnings of 80 cents a share on revenue of 2.22 billion. So slight beat on the EPS and a slight miss on the top line revenue. Their data center revenue in the quarter was 1.65 billion. That did climb about 21% from the same period last year. They expect year-over-year growth revenue to accelerate each quarter in fiscal 2027, driven by continued strength in that data center business, with bookings continue to grow at record pace. Again, shares are up nicely, about 11%. If you don't know, they are a custom AI chip manufacturer. They make what's called ASICs, very big in the world of crypto, used for Bitcoin mining, but they are specific integrated circuits or chips that are made just to do one thing and do one thing really well. They So they're moving up on that news nicely. Sorry, there, just had to answer a quick question. Other areas that are moving to the upside as opposed to single tickers. I mentioned Chinese names, JD.com up about 3.22% here this morning. That was after an earnings miss and initially a move to the downside yesterday. They gapped down, but they have recovered nicely since then. And then other Chinese names that we know, Kingsoft Cloud. Looking for the others here that I was watching this morning. PDD. Some of them have bounced back a little bit, but they were down also. And other Chinese names, or excuse me, were up also with the other Chinese names. Were the only sort of, that was the one takeaway I had sort of looking at the morning stuff. What were some of the other things moving up? I mentioned energy. You do see, and what we're seeing is a secondary move across, it's not, we do see some movement up by the Chevrons, the Exxons, those names today, but we're seeing that secondary energy name across the board. I've noticed it on the side of the pennies. EXE up about 3% here. CHRD, another, energy mineral company, up 2.61. Oxy, which is a big one, up 2.59. And then you get to the bigger names, ConocoPhillips up 2.1, Diamondback Energy, FANG up 2.06, Marathon Energy up 1.9, NEXT, which is Next Decade, up 2%, CTRA, Coterra up 2%. So again, you do see, almost all of the energy names are up at least 1 to 2% here. Devon Energy, Exxon Energy, Valero, they dominate, absolutely dominating the this morning's gainers. Dow, as in the company, not as in the Dow Jones, is up. And this is, again, after, this seems to be something that moves the needle, and it's a sad thing to sort of see and say, but layoffs. So what have this up? They announced a slew of job cuts, and people seem to like that news, like we saw on Block, like we saw on Morgan Stanley. It does lead into what we had been saying here, or have been saying here for the last several weeks. That, what the job data numbers were saying and what we were hearing from folks that are in that industry, both younger kids that had graduated for college that are either, a lot of them what we call underemployed, where they have jobs but the jobs aren't in their degrees. They've got restaurant jobs, they've got things like that, retail jobs. So those things are definitely weighing on the market also. Some of the biggest laggards on the day so far, electronic technology companies, the ones that were flying the last few days, have all retraced. AEHR Systems has retraced all of its gains from the last 5 days here in the pre-market. Had gone up as high as $40 and change, now retraced. AXTI is also down about 4.88% here. Applied Optoelectronics down about 5% here this morning also. And again, these aren't earnings misses from today that are driving those down. These are more industry related, drops. Here we do have an earnings miss on a company, Methanex Corporation, and that does have them down 7%, retraced their complete gain yesterday. So bearish engulfing there. The other thing, of course, with Bitcoin getting hit, as I mentioned, overnight in crypto, you see a lot of the mining company names getting hit here. Bitfarms down about 4.5%. Figure down about 4.13. Stablecoin company Gemini, which has made a huge 2-day run, has erased some of those gains, down about 4%. Not surprising again on this pullback. Again, this pullback won't surprise me if it heads to 66 before we see a meaningful recovery. But this is just, again, it's a rally during what is still a bear market for crypto. So that doesn't change. That narrative hasn't changed at all with what we're seeing. And again, seeing distribution out of all the hours, not including the US. When the US added to that with ETF outflows yesterday, you can see what happens to the price action. Looking at the Mag 7 right now, all of them set to open on the downside. NVIDIA getting hit pretty hard, down about 1.85% again here. Trading right below the 180 level, back down towards its 200-day simple moving average. Apple down another 1.14% here. They are all bouncing off of the lows of the day that came in when that 8:30 job data came out. Google's down about 1.81%. Microsoft down 1.2% here. And we do see Amazon down another 1.73% so far. Meta down 1.5%. Tesla down 1.8%. So again, the Mag 7 still under pressure in general so far here in the morning hours. I think that we'll see if we switch the narrative is the narrative move from the war to the jobs numbers. That's going to be the question that we all watch for today. That's really, the other thing I mentioned earlier. I don't know if I mentioned it here earlier. I'll be watching too some of the defense names. A lot of CEOs from the defense sector are supposedly going to be at the White House today. So that could be good for some of the smaller names, the ONDSs, SIDU. Those guys could have a good little day today, RDW. And then, of course, the bigger names, RTX, LMT, Kratos. All those names will be on watch this afternoon. Those are the big things that we're really following today. Costco, I forgot about their earnings. They did have an earnings beat. They did have a top line revenue beat, down about 79 basis points, 80 basis points here. They did talk about the fact that they are suing to get the tariffs back. The interesting take that I had there was they said that they will use, if they do recover that money, they are looking to push it back into our hands through the reduction of some prices there. So that would be an interesting one, to me, if that's really the case. That's pretty cool on their case. The membership numbers were good. Excuse me. In-store sales increased about 6.7% from last year. December sales rose by 6.4%. So numbers were pretty good. Stock's been up 14% this year. So that could be, part of the reason it's not doing it. It might have had higher numbers against it. It's been on a pretty good tier the last several days. But it has, again, it retraced a good swath of those gains right now, right at the midpoint on the linear regression on the daily chart. So we'll see what we get. I was trying to see here. I did think, just on tariffs again, that they said they will push that money if they get it back towards us. Here's the membership numbers. A growing portion of their new signups renewing at a slightly lower rate on average. Second quarter renewal rate was 89.7%. So, their membership seems to be sticky there. No special dividend. They had done that in the past, so we didn't see that. That also might be something that investors were expecting to see or traders were expecting to see, and not seeing that might have them. That's one of the reasons they're under a little bit of pressure here. And I'm seeing Brent crude. So like I said, WTI and Brent break into the upside here. WTI back above 85. Brent just briefly broke above 90. Now pulling back a little bit here. Wow. So that is, and again, Qatar's the energy minister told the Financial Times that if the Gulf exporters would halt production in days if tankers could not pass through the straits. So with that being said, let me run his intro and get him in here. I know BigBeat's been all over that trade, so we'll see what he has to say this morning.
When markets move, Stephen E. Orr takes the chair. From the White House to Wall Street, he's spent decades at the intersection of policy, markets, and real capital. And he's seen firsthand how institutions use data behind closed doors. Now, as founder of Quasar Markets, his mission is to pull those signals into the open so everyone can see what really moves the markets. This is Stephen E. Orr, BigBeat on Wall Street. Let's filter the future live.
BigBeat, how are you doing this morning? We've got data, we've got war news, we've got Costco earnings. Where you want to start, my man?
Let's start with what I said a year ago, that if we're not careful as a country, and if we're not careful, we're going to end up in a thing called stagflation, and we are there. Which means, good morning, Zora. Which means that job losses are up and inflation is up. And that's exactly what stagflation is. So I've heard so many people say, no way. Fed say, no way, we'll not be in stagflation. We're literally living in it. And on top of that, we've got oil pressures. On top of that, geopolitical issues, all kinds of things. Now, I am still short oil. Oh, my God, but oil is exploding. Yes, it is. Oh, but the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. It is. Qatar is screaming to the FT. Yes, they are. But we have a glut of oil, folks. And this run on oil is literally nothing more than people getting scared. And it's what happens. And hey, may I remind everybody what happened in the silver market? Because we're running out of silver. There's no more silver in the world. And that's it. And that's it. We're done. And it went to 120 and we shorted it. And it went higher. Yeah, it did. But I also got out of my short at 56 bucks an ounce. So look, I get it. But the screaming and the yelling. Now, there are problems here. And the problems are very simple. The president got into a war that he was not prepared for. Okay? We know that now. We also know that there were 65 new documents that came out about the president on the Epstein files. Wag the dog is definitely happening, folks. So pay attention. Okay? So let's get to the points. Let's make some money off of this, right? So I am buying, and I have been buying, and I will continue to buy Royal Caribbean. I think RCL is a good example of that. People are still spending money. They're looking for vacations. They're looking for cheap vacations and easy vacations. And they like casinos. So Royal Caribbean, and they like being on the beach, and they like going to countries, and they like doing things. Guess what? They're still doing those things. So giving us cheaper shares is awesome for us. Thank you. Now, is the oil problem? Yes, WTI at 87 bucks a barrel is out of control. But it's also good for oil companies, ExxonMobil, Shell, Royal Dutch. You name them, they're all enjoying life right now, and they're laughing all the way to the port. No, they're not saying that they're happy about it because they still need to move oil. But the United States is an exporter of oil. We send oil out. We are not an importer anymore. We have decided to change that. Now, for good or bad, and I think right now, not sure, but we now see what happens when supply chains get cut off. We saw it in COVID, and you're seeing it now, right? COVID was all kinds of things, including what lately we're starting to see. And I must say something. I've been reading these articles about how phone manufacturers are now going into not this big machine anymore, where newer customers, meaning younger kids, don't want all of that FaceTime, and they don't want all that. They want just a phone. They want to be able to talk, and that's about it. They want, so we won't need as many chipsets, right? And we won't need the distractions, as they're calling distractions. So with all of that being said, how do we make money off of this? Why is it when the markets dip, people get scared and don't want to buy? I go to the grocery store and I see 2-for-1 Catalina dressing. I'm excited. I see 2-for-1 peanut butter. I'm excited, right? Why? Because, well, maybe there was an overflow of peanut butter that day, and so because of that, I like that. And look, coin under 70,000, I'm liking it, right? Again, Bitcoin's dead as of, you know, at 65,000, Bitcoin was dead. It's not going to ever come back. But it's based on silly talk on news headlines. It's so bad that Bloomberg terminal just changed this week from reading headlines to a machine that aggregates headlines. Right? That's cool. I like that. I think it's a great idea. Welcome to the new future, Bloomberg. And I love them. I love Bloomberg. I love to partner with us. I love that. Right? But this is what we're talking about. The change is coming. And when we're talking about the change, how do we profit from that? And this is how you profit from it, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. I did do more research on your Kospi theory there, and unfortunately for you, the largest outflows in spot were on Upbit in the last 24 hours.
Look, it's not the Kospi itself. I'm talking about the people that were.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The largest exchange in South Korea by a big part was where they were selling the most Bitcoin overnight.
Yes.
So that's yeah. So
right.
that's what I was saying. We're not seeing that change. They're not buyers. They're sellers still.
I apologize. Okay. What I'm saying is the Kospi being down a lot, the money coming out is why I think a lot of the money went into Bitcoin. I don't mean from the Kospi into it, but I think because of the Kospi going down is when the buyer stepped in, right? The institutions around the world stepped in. They could have stepped into the actual Kospi, which they finally did. But and I was right, and I bought EWY. I did it on the show, and I showed it, and it's up 6%. I'm up almost over 80%. But I'm not going to lose on this. I'm not going to take my fifth loss this year. I saw an article the other today that some trader was up 43 trades in a row. My God, dude, I do 43 trades in a day. Like, stop. Here's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about hitting singles, not home runs, and not over buying something that's not. The reason I'm okay with my oil short that I'm losing in is because I'm not got so much of it that it bothers me. And you know, as we always say, Howard, if a position scares you, you're too heavy, right? And so I know that the oil is going to go down. We all know that. I knew silver was going to go down, and when it kept going up, I kept shorting it. I added to it, like Steve Flanagan talks about. I know that. I mean, I know the Trump talk right now about the unconditional surrender, no deal. I get all that. That's scaring people right now. But nothing has changed. There's a glut of oil sitting off the coast. They have so much oil they can't even refine it. Now, if refineries get hit, now we've seen 2 refineries get hit, but nothing that stop the refinery of it. If you want it, we don't have time today to do it, but I will tell you, if you really want to get excited about oil, look at the crack spread, right? That's where, I would just tell you, Google it or go on Quasar Markets and understand the crack spread. We'll eventually have educators for that explaining on it. But that's the difference between oil and gas and all. There's a big crack spread, right? That's cracking it up. Okay, I'll make it easier. It's not really exactly what it means, but cracking that up. So what is it that's important? Is gasoline going to go up? Yeah, but gasoline is only about 35% of a barrel of oil. Okay, we have other things that goes along with that, including plastic, including the things that go around that phone that we all have, right? Those prices are going up. And as we watch the WTI pushing up, the biggest push up is not WTI, it's Brent. So if you want to arbitrage against Brent against WTI, sell WTI and buy Brent. That spread's even bigger. Why? Because it's very expensive to pull it out of the ground, or out of the.
And they don't have wells that are sitting there waiting to be tapped.
They already are. In our case, Texas has so many oil.
I'm saying
wells.
WTI already has extra oil. They can't. It's very expensive to put a new thing, and takes a long time to put it up in the Northern Ocean.
Yeah, it's roughly about $160,000 to tap. And if you want, every Friday, those of you who don't know how this works, you can watch the Baker Hughes rig count.
Yep.
Right? The rig count will tell you, are there more rigs being put on or less rigs being taken off? And what's a rig? It's a big truck comes in, a machine drills and checks to see there's holes. That's how many straws were going in every I don't know. I haven't looked at the latest Baker Hughes rig count. But I guarantee you, if you want to bet on something, and Kyle, bet you if they have it, the rig count is probably going to go through the roof this week because they're going to start drilling for more oil. Drill, baby, drill, which is nuts. We have so much oil, we don't even need it. We have literally just ungodly amounts of oil, right? We don't need more oil. In fact, Saudi Arabia is kind of getting past the oil world, right?
They're trying. Yep, they're doing their
If you
best.
want to look up something in the Saudi Arabia area, look up the Gawar oil field. It's running out of oil, folks. Yes, Saudi Arabia is running out of oil, okay? I don't know how to explain this to people. No, they're not running. Yes, they are, okay? And they know it. That's why they're changing to all the different funds that they're building right now. They're trying to be Norway with their oil fund. So, yeah, I hope that helps a little bit when explaining my oil short. And as oil prices go up, I get it. I'm not scared. I'll probably add to it. I'm adding to my Royal Caribbean. Remember when IBM was done because AI is gone? AI is going to take IBM away. IBM went back to good Lord. IBM got over 250, and I think it was at what 230 something like that when we were buying. Right, so 10%, boom. Right, that's the difference. Don't be screwed by the headlines.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of which, I see Mr. Kramer yelling at the screen there. I wonder what he's yelling about today.
Well, Kevin Hassett is on the CNBC right now. I mean, he is the National Economic Council Director of the NEC. I understand him. I don't necessarily agree with all his policies. I don't think I agree with most policies. I will tell you a policy that I did like yesterday: Trump firing Kristi Noem. I have called for that for over 3 months, and he did it. And I really am proud of the president and put a very smart man in there. I like what he's done here. A senator who understands the Homeland Security and understands it from a director point. I like this. It's a good move. But his last straw was another sexual deviant issue from I won't even get into it. It's so bad, right? That was his last straw, right? He couldn't handle that one.
Markets are dumping here, Steve, by the way. Markets are dumping here pretty hard.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
NASDAQ now down 1.68%, SPY down another 1.5% almost. Dow down about 1.5% here. So people don't like those. People are understanding that job number. Steve, we got to get into those job numbers.
Yeah,
we've been saying it. I mean, I say it every jobs report, right? The number doesn't match what we're hearing and seeing out on the street, what people like Paul V are telling us. And guess what?
That's the difference. Stop the headlines and listen to people. I have enough Quasar Markets Live shows to tell you what's really going on in the world. People that are on the ground who actually are doing the jobs, not just talking heads. I want to have people on this show saying, hey, this is what's happened. This should not surprise anybody when we've been talking about unemployment rates going up and people losing their jobs. We've been talking about it for 6 months, Howard. You've explained it to your blue in the face that tech unemployment has gone up. And here's what's really weird. The Wall Street Journal has been talking about this, that kids these days don't even want to work. They want to get a job and get laid off so they can collect unemployment benefits. That number is up. Can you believe that? And they're okay. These kids are telling it's okay. That is not okay. They need to go to work, but they know they get in trouble because of AI. So,
well, Steve, like, I don't know if you saw, but Dow, as in the company Dow, is up 3.8%. And the reason is they laid a bunch of people off. So now JP Morgan gave them an upgrade.
And JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley also laid off people too. So, this is getting to be a point where there's a problem. And this is why, folks, out there, you need Quasar Markets, because I'm tired of looking at charts. Charts ain't telling you where the prices are going, folks. The news isn't telling you where prices are going. The people on the ground are telling you what's happening months before. AI is helping you. We're creating tools to make that happen. And now we're seeing it, and you're winning on it. You would know what's happening, right? I'm buying dips. I like this. Oh, but dips are... Look at this. In the last second, look at WTI oil prices. Fell $1.50 in 1 second, right?
Yeah,
yes,
it's every tweet, everything on news. You know what I mean?
That's not structural. That's not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. No, it's tweet analysis. You're trading tweet analysis.
That's right.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know if you saw. I'd be watching those defense names today because they're going to the White House. Expect to hear, hey, we're increasing. We gave a new contract, whatever it is. They wouldn't release the name of the CEOs. So that's going to be interesting. But I already saw one company that got a contract today that's absolutely just skyrocketing. PRSO, I think it is.
Okay. Yeah.
That got one of these contracts. So watch for these things today. That's going to be another area to keep an eye on. And are we making China great again? Because the other names that are moving up today are JD and PDD and the Chinese.
Together. The Chinese and the Russians are getting together, and the Russians are giving. We've been reading the articles about Russia giving the Iranians where our boys are, where our weapons are. They're giving data to the Iranians. So don't think that China and Russia aren't having fun talking and chatting with each other. They are. So we are in a war, and we've deepened this war, and we've deepened the conflicts within the whole world. We had an opportunity to make China and the United States pretty tight. We had a chance, the Ukraine, and we blew all of them, right? So we need to get back to basics. As I've been saying, common sense. I'm sick of it. Common sense. Or we're going to be in a deeper war than we need to be. Vietnam is a good example of that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's for the sure. And I saw that they just released, or they just said that Iranian drones were attacking Kurdish forces in the south of in that area there. So that's
one thing you have to give the president credit for is he called it out, right? The Iranians are now not just fighting us; they're fighting everybody. They're bombing their own allies.
Carries out drone attack against Kurdish armed opposition groups in Iraqi Kurdistan region.
Hey, we appreciate everybody out there watching. Make sure you hit that like, repost, subscribe.
Absolutely, do us a favor. Smash those buttons for us. It helps very much. Qatar, the security threat is high. Residents are to stay home.
Yeah, UAE. I mean, my God, Abu Dhabi. Like you're attacking hotels and you're attacking people. The Iranians are not good people. Or I'm sorry, not the Iranian people. I'm talking about the Iranian regime here. But the resolve with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has been pretty strong. That is worrying to me. So, but is that really going to affect Royal Caribbean? No, but losing jobs will.
They did have United's, I think it was, CEO was talking today at a conference in Boston and actually said, while, things are tough and the gas is going to be more expensive for them, the appetite for travel, this hasn't diminished it. In fact, in Australia, they're seeing a pickup where people want to go on vacation and stuff. So it does. I'm with you on that. It doesn't seem like it's, folks. I mean, yeah, they're not going to the Mediterranean maybe, and they're not going to the Red Sea. The Egyptian cruises are all canceled. I actually have some friends that were supposed to take one of those this summer, I believe. I wonder.
I have been on the Nile. I love the Nile cruises. It's an amazing place. I've seen the pyramids. I look forward hopefully one day being able to go to Tehran and seeing I love history. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But right now that section of the world has been a problem, believe it or not, for 6,000 years. So I don't know why everybody's freaked out now, right? This is nothing new, folks. It's the only difference is drones may be involved now. Boots on the ground might be. We have massive forces when we, and I've said this before, and I've talked about this yesterday on the show, is that the number of drone attacks that are being sent over, the number of missiles being sent over from Iran is starting to dwindle. They can't be continuing. We have them surrounded. No ships are coming into us, but no ships coming into Iran. So they're stuck with what they have, and they don't have a lot of metal in order to make these weapons. Is the Russians sneaking weapons into maybe, but we bunker busted a bunch of their places. So I don't know how much longer they can handle this. I say get the boy in, get our boy in here. It's Friday. I love Steve Flanagan, as everybody knows. Let's get him in here, Steve. What's going on, Steve? Jobs are down. You said the world's going to go where the United States is just going to have such an amazing opportunity. We're going to go up and up. And Kevin has to say we're going to have 4%. And yet we're in the middle of stagflation. Unemployment's popping. Jobs we're 92,000 jobs in 1 month. 92,000 jobs in 1 month, and inflation is still going up. So talk to me, Steve. Tell me what we're missing this.
Well, I wanted to start off by beware the Ides of March, but maybe we should say beware the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah.
You're going to have bumps in the road. Let's face it, along the way. I'm not flinching to this. Okay, a little bit worse on the jobs number, definitely. I'm concerned that you still got some inflation in the market, but yeah. I don't think inflation is something I'm worried about here at all. if you look around the world, nobody else is. The high oil price, it's temporary. I like your short oil play with SCO, but right now you've got geopolitics are burning the market space. Yeah. We've talked about geopolitics. Oil's up, and King Dollar is back.
And you've been calling that. You've been saying that the dollar is going to push higher. So there it is.
The most remarkable part of this whole thing, and I don't mean to trivialize war and people dying.
White House senior advisor Hassett now says the military is putting together a plan so that we can get ships through the Strait of Hormuz. So it's just a matter of time. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yep. And, I just think that when you look at what's going on, these are the type of spikes, and I don't mean to downplay war and the loss of lives, but this is a one-off. Like I said on our show on Wednesday, when you're flying B-52s across Iran, it's over. It's just a matter of mopping up right now. The outcome is already well known, and it's just a matter of how soon it's over. How soon Iran, gives up. I am concerned that the hard line.
But what does that mean, giving up? Is that because the president just said a few minutes ago, and I agree with you, Steve, that they're going to lose the war, but it's going to be a long, prolonged, not the way that we maybe think that it's going to be. We may be having terrorism for a while, but I do think that the president said no deal. It's unconditional surrender. So that adds a little bit of a difference to, well, I'm going to give you concede some land. I'm going to concede to enriching uranium. What does it mean to you, Steve, that they lose?
We cannot have religious zealots running a country that are calling for the death of others. This isn't something new. They've been doing this for 20 plus years. You cannot have that. And
I'd say at a 200 years.
And trying to arm themselves with a nuclear weapon. It's unacceptable. It cannot be allowed. And I guess, history will tell, but what the heck has United States and Europe been doing, just allowing this to keep going on and on and on? So, I'm going to deal here and now. We're wiping out a problem that should have been wiped, never allowed to get to where it's at. This is a big positive for worldwide growth. But the short term is a lot of pain. And you see the pain in the number that came out today. The number comes out today. It's minus a number of job creations. Okay, this is part of the transition process that AI is bringing too, with more efficiencies. It doesn't mean a loss of jobs in as much as a transitional period. We will get to the other side, and the sun will shine on the other side. It's just a period of time we've got to go through. Just like every other time when the economy has to shift here. I think important news, putting the war aside, China has actually turned and said, they're targeting their GDP now at 4.5% to 5%. China has been 7% GDP needed to keep their economy alive and keep employment. Now, all of a sudden, we're looking at 4.5%. This is a huge move by China in downsizing their economic growth. This is the most modest target that China has set since 1991.
So, I agree with that. Yeah.
Again, when I hear everybody inflation, now you've got the ECB, you've got the Fed, they're all going, inflation could be oil spike is a spike. It will come right back down. The world is glutted with oil. Once this situation is over and ships are sailing through the straits, everything will auto-correct itself.
I look at this market, Steve, and headline driven, just rampant chaos running through the headlines. And I just saw one coming in from our boy Peter Thomas, and he's right. I like BlackRock just started aggressively liquidating Bitcoin ahead of the U.S. market open. They must know something. They dumped over $250 million worth of Bitcoin. It's a $2 trillion market. $250 million isn't even a blip. So are we just allowing the algos to just control our lives?
Oh, good question, Steve. In this early stage of algo development, and again, early stage,
I agree with that. It's early.
I do think that there's a lot of risk in the marketplace, specifically zoning in on the financial aspect of AI and algorithmic trading. I believe that there's probably been a little bit of an outgrowth in an area I'm not happy with, and that would be, as I've been mentioning, these AI social media sentiment models that are driving the market. Clearly, everybody is trading with fear today, right? Oil over 90
on a Friday. Fear on a Friday. That's what I do post. Fear on Friday. Yeah, there it is.
Scenario, right? And what do I say every Friday? You got to have a hedge on. I would say right now, I'm a little worried that my hedge, which is good size, I'm a little worried that I'm going to get burned on Monday if all of a sudden good news comes out on Sunday night. You're never going to be able to get back into this. So, yes, Steve, I am concerned that there's some areas.
Are you increasing your hedge then?
I've increased it today. It's already
okay. There it is.
I am expecting a Friday down move because of fear factors. Yeah. And when your president comes out and says unconditional surrender is the only way, it means that get ready, the big stuff's still to come.
I think that he knows something. I think he does. I think something is coming, and if that's the case, look, the Iranians don't supply oil to the world. What is if Saudi Arabia disruption happens, and I'd say, okay, I understand why oil is pushing higher, but it's not. They're still sending it. It's just not the Strait of Hormuz. I get it. 30% of oil moves through it, but what people don't understand is there is plenty of oil. It's just the oil has to go to the refineries. They're sitting off the coast in the Gulf. I mean, trust me, I know. I live in the Gulf. There's tons of oil sitting off the coast. I don't know what's going on here. Why are people just dumb?
No, Steve. People are reacting with fear, and fear is driving the marketplace, and people make decisions under fear, which usually is the worst case scenario. But I didn't really want to delve into this area because I want to be very respectful of religions and things. But I have been trying to figure out why Iran is holding on, to the bitter end here. And I did polish up a little bit on some of these. They feel that the 12th prophet or whatever is about to come because they feel the martyrdom of the Ayatollah being taken out ushers in this religious period where the great Satan is beaten. Great Satan would be us. And that's, if you take the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, these people really, a good portion of them really hold very much to this is part of the prophecy of what they feel is going to happen and leads to their victory. So that, I can understand now in light of what they're holding on to, the president coming out and saying, no, unconditional surrender is the only end in sight. I guess, when you begin to look at, is it possible to have that sort of religious zealot in the market? Yes, it really is. And maybe we're all waking up to the fact that this is what they cling to. This is their prophecy. Hey, we're going to win. This is everything that's happening has been foretold. I get a little worried in that because, suddenly we're back to the Great Crusades and things like that. And
I was getting ready to say, how much further do we have to go? I mean, my education, and I feel like I got to go back to grade school. I mean, to remember all this stuff, right? I mean, it's nuts in a lot of ways. All right, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to share my screens and start pulling up some charts for us. We know 88, there's $88 a barrel, 88.47, 48. Now we're at the high. Now I'm going to pull up a weekly chart so that we go all the way back, folks, and understand oil. Now, where are we with oil today? We are here. We would have to go all the way back to, oh my, just last 2 years ago, back to March. Remember when we had the big glut? And then again, but look what happens every single time. So, and of course, if I go all the way back, let's go back to monthly charts. I can pull it back here. You know, do we get back to $120 a barrel? You know, look, not, and I'll tell you something, folks, if you don't know this, oil companies do not want $100 a barrel of oil. Well, that gives them a lot of money. That means that everybody in the world stops driving, right? And they don't want to pay $20 a gallon for gas. And that's how it corrects very quickly. They don't want that. They want very easy, very steady oil flows. Here's my price. Here's what I make, and everybody's making money, and they're all happy. That's what oil companies want. Okay, so they don't like it when it gets up here. And guess what happens every single time? So this is a monthly chart of oil. I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm going to do what I always do so everybody understands. I'm going to draw my little lines, and here's what happens. It's like a sine wave. So again, it's going to happen. You see where the buyers and sellers are. They're somewhere around the $70 handle here. There's very, very little left here to buy. I'm going to pull up a 1 second chart here on oil, and I'm not seeing much movement yet so far. So we'll keep it there. I'll try to pull the Qs up here. QQQ. I did buy some, as you know, bought more Royal Caribbean here on this dip. I have to look at the numbers exactly. I don't know what I have because the markets are moving. But we are seeing a push back up on the Qs. We are seeing buyers stepping back in the market that are going, thank you for all the silly headlines, and we're going to take advantage of you. So they are doing that. And $88 a barrel. If we get below the 88 handle here, we could get to 87 heartbeat. 5109. If the world's really ending, Steve, there's no gold should be flying through the roof, and it's really not. If the world's ending, no, right. So
exactly, Steve. I would make one point on oil. Okay, you've had this spike up in oil over the last, let's say, 5 days, but the oil and the gasoline that we're buying at the pumps is still gasoline that was bought when it was below, $65. It's
right.
Not like it's an immediate transfer, and that could be something we want to keep an eye on.
It actually could be good for the refinery companies, the Phillips
Exactly.
66s of the world. PSX,
right? You mentioned we got an oil glut, so people have a lot of oil that they have purchased at $60 and below. That's still working its way into the system. So if this is a spike, this is no effect. It will be wiped out. It's not going to cause inflation. People are saying oil at $80+ means everything goes up. If it stays at 80 plus, yes. But that's the question. How long does it stay?
I did buy Royal Caribbean here at RCL at 268.57 here on the open, and we're 272 already. Taking advantage of the silliness, right, folks? This is exactly what I did. I did not buy it pre-market. I liked it. So I do it right. Sometimes I'm taking advantage of these silly moves. 271 now. So yeah, it may go down farther. I get it. But look at all the buyers are, folks. You can see it right there. There's the buyers on RCL. We really need to see WTI slipping here a bit here, but I'm not too concerned about it here. WTI, we'll pull it back up here for you if you need it. And there's the drop now. We've now seen oil dropping here now about $2 a barrel already, as reality sets in. This is what we're talking about.
Take advantage of what these algos present to us. They always, if there's one thing about algorithmic trading, it will always push to an extreme.
Because it doesn't know any better. It doesn't understand. All it knows is numbers.
That's right. Exactly. And if the next price after they buy is not higher, a warning sign goes on. And if two prices go lower, they must sell. It's perpetual motion. It's not like there's a decision. They are buying, selling because there's no transactional cost anymore in the world.
Right.
So you can buy and sell all day long. You could do millions of trades if you really wanted to, But, I would think that they're very active and they're going to keep pushing up until it reaches a point of an extreme, and then they're going to start pushing it back down.
We are seeing a little bit of selling here now in the Q 600 back to it. I'm still not scared about anything. I think people are just silliness right now.
What's going to happen once you get past 1 o'clock? Everybody's going to start saying, all right, what's happened today? What am I going to do for the weekend? I got to have a little, should I be so long in a stock? If this does escalate, there's no exit point over the weekend. So I would expect to see a late afternoon sell-off in the marketplace. That would be.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right.
Unless, of course, good news comes out. But, Israel and the United States keep talking about, wait till you see the heavy stuff. It's still coming. And
we're hearing reports that Energy Secretary is they're allowing India to take oil and refine and move it into the market. There you go. A countries that don't normally refine oil, and all of a sudden their oil refineries come online and the price will drop again. So this is all nonsense to me. I can't look. I get it. It's gonna suffer a little bit, and I'm fine. But that's why we have positions. That's why we hedge, as Steve Flanagan is telling everybody. I like this.
Yeah, and you've got to, as much as there's fear in all of us that when you look at a marketplace like this, you've got to step back and say, is what is happening in the world a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, Steve. I don't know. I think time will tell. The president thinks it's a good thing.
Time will tell, but eliminating terrorism or state-sponsored terrorism is a good thing.
I agree with that 100%. But we say that, yet terrorism seems to be up.
Well, we're in the midst of, the mopping up process. I don't know. I always, think hope springs eternal. I'm one of those who looks at the glass as half full, not half empty. And through my 40 plus years of trading, that scenario has worked, because no matter how gloom and doom it gets, we always seem to come out and daylight returns, and it's always a positive environment afterwards. So when you're in the midst of it, I get it, man. It's gut wrenching at times to be able to sit here and say, how could you say that? Well, because you've got to look at it and extend your horizons sometimes. And if you're in the thick of it, it's bad news. It's
interesting. You're right, Steve. And there's a lot of companies that might be holding their oil back and not sending it out to the market, saying, okay, I may give them a better price for oil.
I mean, let's go simple supply and demand. If you've got a stockpile of oil that you've been buying over the last month.
The IDF just said they've taken out 80% of the Iranian air defense systems. So okay. I think you're right, Steve. I think this is a weekend. Somewhere around here, we're going to be out of this, I think, right?
Yeah, and Hegseth said that missile strikes from Iran to everyone is down 90%. So you're getting pretty close. Every time they fire a missile, keep in mind, if you research this, you've got drones that can stay up in the air for hours and hours with Hellfire missiles. And the moment they launch, they just fire upon the launch site. You keep taking away these launch vehicles. Eventually, what are you going to throw them at people? And again, I'm not trying to trivialize it, but I'm just saying that I'm a numbers guy. I'm a price guy. I watch numbers, and eventually, if you've taken all the production facilities out, you're going to run out.
I agree. We're hearing reports. Hess is now saying that on Iran oil, the effort in Iran is way ahead of schedule. They're saying that, and that ready to use tools as soon as we have to, but optimistic we can resolve the near-term problem soon, saying that the effort in Iran is way ahead of schedule. That's interesting to me. What does that mean, ahead of schedule?
Well, it means that if you saw the comments earlier, we're urging the Iranian Kurds, which are a lot, in the north, to seize the moment. And if we control the airspace, well, who's going to fight them. So, you could very easily, have as this begins to build, I scour, X all for the comments out of Iran, and there's a lot of people saying we're just waiting for the green light to go. United States.
Let me ask this question, Steve. The number just came across, so I'm not prognosticating here. But in the 43-year history of WTI crude oil prices, 43 years, we're talking about wars. We're talking about all kinds of things. Gulf War, all of it. Name me the week that's been the most up in history.
A week, 1 week. I don't think this is the week. Is it?
It is.
It is. Okay.
That should tell you how dumb this move is on oil.
That would really emphasize your point, Steve. And it would also emphasize your algorithmic trading models that are just going to push until somebody comes in and changes the narrative.
Oh, I agree. But the narrative, this is nonsense at this point.
Yeah, but what's going to stop an algorithmic model from buying if it doesn't suddenly, if the news around the narrative doesn't change? What's going to stop it? We're talking about, paper markets here. We're not talking about real barrels of oil being, this is all a paper market. I'll evidence back to silver. When silver dropped that one day, 2.5 times the annual mining production of silver traded in one session. So, how is that realistically possible? And I would probably argue the same thing, about this. If this is the largest week, I would argue the same thing here. These are things that will be done, down the road as people start looking at these moves and saying, what the heck happened there? And they're going to start itemizing, well, what happened was we need to curb, some of these algorithmic trading models. Now, I'm not in favor of that, okay? I am a big tech guy as far as algorithms go. And I think that the market should be completely open. But they have the ability to go one-sided.
And so far they are.
But it's not just in oil. As I highlighted, silver. And as you could look at any stock. Why do earnings come out that are so good, and in after-hours trading, when most people aren't trading, how can something suddenly go down 15% after such great earnings? That's algorithmic trading.
And I would say it's also the lack of liquidity.
And a lack of liquidity, which is the best ingredient for why these things trade, because they can have such a powerful influence on price. Remember, the people who use these are dictated by one thing: making money. They're not sitting here going, oil at $90 a barrel is going to hurt the little guy. No, they're going, we're just going to keep driving this up, and we're going to dump it all at 95 and 97 and making money. That's the whole harsh reality.
If I look at WTI right now, and I pull up, and I'm going to do this for everybody, so everybody understands what I'm doing here. So I'm going to pull up okay, so I have WTI here. I can't make it any bigger than this, folks. Sorry, because of the screens. You can see it's already coming back down. I'm going to pull up a 3-minute chart because that's what Wall Street uses, right? Look at linear regression. Look at that line, folks, at the top. It's held on the top the whole way. It does come back. There's where the buyers are, somewhere around 84. Expected to come back there sometime today at some point. And let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull up a daily chart of WTI. Just so anybody and everybody understands what's going on here and what Steve is talking about. This is how far out of the norm we are, right? We should get back to somewhere around $63 a barrel. And you better be prepared for it because it's going to have it. We're going to have it.
What happens if the United States all of a sudden sees the situation as they're announcing we're way ahead of schedule? What about if all of a sudden this afternoon you come out with, let's release the SDI, right? All
The
the oil.
SPR, the SPR.
Yeah, SPR.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what's interesting? I really appreciated the president. He campaigned on it, and I agree with him, of refilling the SPR, and he did that. He did a very good job of refilling it at cheaper prices. So
Yes.
think about how much the oil is worth today. The United States would make a profit on oil right now.
At probably about $20+ a barrel, they'd be making a profit. I wouldn't be surprised if that is it? I don't have any knowledge whatsoever, to be clear, but I'm just saying, you got a businessman sitting there, and if he feels that victory or is coming close, why not? Hey, we're going to release some out. Anybody want to
sell the oil at 88 and buy it back at 65? Thank you very much. Make the United States some money.
Yep.
But is it paying for the war? Is that no? I don't think so. The SPR doesn't have that much oil in it, right? But there is some money in it. I understand it. I mean, 80. We're already down below 86 on the WTI spot there on FX Pro. I mean, look, the price of oil is all over the map here on different whatever, depending on what you're looking at right now. People have been asking me that too as well. We're already selling off here. Oil's selling off a bit now, so I expect this. There you go. Keep selling.
Watch how everything is syncing
Dragonfly.
up.
Yeah.
The dollar index is already at 99.30. As I talk, Steve, 99.49 was the January 15th high. And you've been coming straight off.
And you called that on Wednesday, Steve. You said that. That's where the selling is, and you can see it. You can see where the sellers are, and there it is. And it fell right off of it.
Yep, and 99.68's been our high. The next level, if we do get above, is 140 if that breaks. But let's just look at this dollar index. You hit a low January 27th of 95.55. And everybody's been talking for the last 2 months, de-dollarization. The dollar is no longer the reserve currency. That back has been absolutely snapped and broken. And I think out of everything that's happened, the dollar recovery, I think, is the biggest thing I'm latching on to here, because I think it sets the stage. Right now, any dip in this dollar, you could probably see.
Well, I think it's some of this push on the dollar is because of the Dixie, because of oil itself, because oil is denominated in dollars, right?
Well, so, I was going to say, Steve, if you overlay a dollar index to an oil chart, you're going to see the petrodollar at work. But and with Venezuelan oil and potentially Iranian oil suddenly taken out of the BRIC sphere of using other currencies to pay for it, I think they said United States somewhat with Venezuela.
The oil is only up 1.2% against the dollar. There you go.
Okay, but when you look at the U.S., let's call it somewhat ownership of oil, I think it's 40% of the present value, world supply of oil, which means oil will stay priced in dollars, and the petrodollar is back. And I don't know, Steve. I'm very confident now of my dollar, which I've been suffering for 5 months, and you and Howard have been pounding me at times on my.
We have been, yes.
Yep, but I'm back. I'd say right now, 98, low 98s is where you want to load up again. Could I see a level of 97.80 again? Yeah, possible. But you buy the dip because I think it's very clear that, the dollar and the U.S. are going to, once this is over, it's takeoff time. I've been saying March is going to be a very volatile month. Well, here we are. I had a headline today with "Beware the Ides of March."
Yes.
There's an awful lot to be worried about in the next week. Does this war culminate? Is it over? I personally have been saying to you, it's already over. I kind of think by the end of today or by Monday open, I think there's going to be a lot of positive news. And then you've got the central banks all coming to the table The following week, March 17th, 18th, and 19th, every central bank that we should be concerned about has got a monetary policy meeting. And who's got the biggest problem right now? It's Europe with the energy costs up here suddenly, because they're a natural importer of natural gas and oil.
And if Russia does cut them off, Europe, they could be in trouble here.
Yeah, and with Iran hitting one of the big oil pipelines that goes through Turkey, again, I'm not a very big positive fan on Europe. They posted their GDP growth for the fourth quarter of 0.2, bringing their total for the year up to 1.2% for the entire European zone, 24 nations. Horrible. I don't know how they could, and they're only projecting 1.4% GDP for the next 2 years. So I don't know how that's an acceptable thing to the populace of Europe.
I don't think that it is, but I think they're powerless right now against the ECB.
And I think that's why you're seeing German's Chancellor Merz coming out and saying, look, Europe has failed. It's failed the people.
Yeah. The last time a chancellor said that is been a long time.
Yeah. And, of course, Germany going to 5% military GDP, 5% will be military budget. People got to be worrying, especially Russia. But I don't know, Steve. I'm going to keep my glass half full. I'm going to hope that we get positive news over the weekend, that this is winding down. What would be a positive news would be maybe no missile strikes from Iran.
President Trump says that he rates this war as a 12 or 15 out of 10. Says the outcome for Iran will be similar to Venezuela.
Which is going to be good for the people of Iran. And, lo and behold, I don't know if you follow, but the United States is cyber attacking and basically sending messages out on their cell phones, yes, saying, now is not the time to come out. So, when they give a green light and everybody's cell phone lights up and says, rise up, now's your time, things are going to happen and happen quick.
I love it. Okay, we got about 8 minutes now until the top of the hour here, Steve. What are your thoughts here over the weekend? Are you nervous or are you not nervous?
I think I'm nervous. Yes, of course. I mean, okay. It's war. Any war can go any way. Got to have some sort of nervousness, definitely. And I express that through the play I use is UVXY. It's a volatility index. And, I have that against my, as a hedge. Do I expect to lose money? I hope I do. Because if I lose money on my hedge, my portfolio is done very well. So, yes, Steve, I am concerned. I'm concerned that this could easily spiral out of control. I'm concerned that if you listen to the lead U.S. peace negotiator, what was his name again?
Witkoff?
Yeah, Witkoff. He said Iran came into the meeting and said it's all right to have so much processed uranium, which they admitted right at the start of the meeting, which could create, according to what I've read, 11 nuclear bombs. They already have it. And it's our right to do it. And Witkoff apparently said, and you can look on what he said, well, it's the United States' right to prevent you from doing that. Well, here we are. So pretty clear what's going on.
I don't disagree with Witkoff, to be honest with you. You said at the beginning of the show that religious zealots having access to that kind of firepower, believing that the world is going to end, what do they have to lose? Well, what are the chances? What are the chances that Iran does pull a nuclear, shoot one off?
I mean, that's why oil is up. That's why a lot of reason why safe haven dollar is up, because people are saying it may have been a 1% possibility, but now maybe it's 6% or 8%. And if it's 5%, from 1%, that risk factor has to be priced into your models. And here you go with oil rising the way it did and everything else moving. So, yes, Steve, it is a concern. I sit on the weekend. I'll be watching news wires very carefully, watching for your little blurbs that come out on X all the time, man. You guys do a great job of keeping up on a lot of these top events, top news as it breaks. But yeah, that you've got to be concerned. It's a weekend risk.
I love it here, Steve. I think you're right. I'm not scared. I'm buying RCL. I bought a little bit more here. Oil just dropped again here. We could get below the 86 handle here. 88.46 on WTI. We're looking at spot oil. Look, oil does not have a specific price, right? It's what people are willing to buy on different markets. There's look, folks. There's NYMEX. There's the hub. There's spot, there's futures, and the futures right now, there's a lot of oil moving all around the world, and there's arbitrage too, meaning what people, if other countries are looking to use the dollar, the Dixie, against it. So they have to buy dollars, right, to push the dollar price up, buys more oil. So the price of oil is even up above where the dollar is. So actually, oil's priced way too high. There's way too much premium priced into this sucker.
Yeah, and let's keep our analysis simple, Steve, as both of us love to do. You're an oil producer. A month ago, you're sitting there at 65 or below, and you're going, oh, boy, this is getting tough. And suddenly, you're sitting there going, it's $85 or higher. You're like, who wants oil? I got it all to go. And you're selling every single thing that you can because why not?
And that could dump it on the market, too.
Yeah.
Right.
That'll be
then these people that are long and hedged long and over long and ultra longs are going to have to cover that long and go short on the oil. It's a double whammy, as we call it. Yes, I mean,
yes, it is. And those who are hedging because of this increased risk that we've talked about, and they automatically have to increase the hedge. So it's not as if it's not as if you and I sitting behind a terminal going, I better buy more. No, this is all algorithmic executions that's just going buy a little bit more, buy a little bit more. The risk assessment is now 5% that they could have a nuclear weapon. Buy a little more. And that's the way this works. And in the big picture, it makes them profitable. Because if something does happen, they've got a hedge that offsets the loss.
Austin Goolsby just says he's hopeful on inflation. Said the numbers were pretty bad on the jobs and says it can't handle a few more. If you got several months like that, it would be a concern, is what he's saying.
Wow. That's an interesting comment ahead of a Fed meeting in 2 weeks.
That changes the picture a little bit.
A little bit.
We are seeing spot gold here, 51.14 now announced, and tick still below about 200. So the tick hasn't really moved much. Dow down about 950 now. Or let's see, WTI up 10%. I mean, it's just nuts. Here's the thing, Steve. WTI crude up $8 a barrel, up 10%. SCO is an ultra fund. It's only up 9%. Down 9%. It should be down 18% if it's keeping up.
That's right. And where is it trading?
I'm telling you, folks.
Is it trading at $11, $12?
Right now, SEO is sitting at $10.51 now a share.
Yeah, I mean, if you like to look at the glass as half full, as I do, weekend risk could be pretty tough. But at $10.50, where's it going? Down to $5? Okay, so.
Well, we hope that it doesn't split, reverse split on us. But yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of like this play, and I think that's what I'm going to do, Steve. I'm going to buy more SCO here as well.
Right, especially when your president is coming out and going out on a limb, which he does. But when he's coming out on a limb saying, on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm rating this up to a 15. Why wouldn't you think that? Maybe that is a good buy. I delved into it yesterday as I was watching the show. It made sense. I looked at it. got a little beat up overnight, but we'll see how it goes.
And see, let me ask you a question. I'm seeing some question marks asking about why USO over SCO. Why am I buying SCO as opposed to US oil? Because to me, US oil is an oil fund of the United States, and that's already priced correctly. And of course, I understand it. I think it's like I'm reading it, 84% crude futures, and to me the curve, the futures curve is well. If you don't know what we're talking about, sorry, folks, I'll explain to you here. Here's the seasonals right there, right? You're looking at that. And then, of course, if I'm looking at the WTI, I really think we'll be back to about 60. We're really, there you go, 86.31 now. I think oil is, the premium is really baked into this sucker by now. All right, Steve, it is 10 o'clock. As Maria Bartiromo, the money honey, used to say, where is your money? I will see you back. I will not see you on Monday. I hope you and Howard have a good week next week. I'm going to do something. I'm actually going to go on a vacation. I'm not scared. As I always say, I ain't scared.
Good for you, Steve. Enjoy. It's been a great week for trading. Volatile. We don't like war, but, sunshine starts on Monday morning.
Sunshine starts on Monday morning. I'll leave it at that. As with that, all of you, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the numbers. And just real quick update. You're very welcome, Zora. Thank you. Another 9 point. Look at the 10 points for her. Another 10-point day. We'll see you right back here next week. But we'll also on the 20th have another big media day. We're shooting for 2 million views. So we'll look forward for all you helping us out there as oil is dropping here. All right. See you next week.